Okay. All right. Let's take a look at your resume.
Okay.
So you went after this box, right? And what was your goal in changing what you wrote in the blue box?
Well, I was doing it from a teaching experience perspective, and so I kind of tweaked it to show more of the leadership skills and
Okay.
yeah, that I've had in the past.
Okay. All right. Then let's take a look. All right. Can you still see the screen if I move it like this, if I move it from side to side?
I can see you're scrolling down to something, but now I see the resume back up.
Okay, excellent. Okay. All right. I'm currently a special ed teacher, 14 years experience in public education system, and I have over 20 years of training. I'm a teacher in charge. Okay. Being teacher in charge. Good. So here's our goal, Marisela. We're not going to use the word teacher anywhere in that paragraph.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's just my first. That's our first approach. Okay. Let's see if we can get it to just speak about what you are highlighting as being the teacher, right? So let's take a look at the first sentence.
Okay.
I'm currently a special ed teacher, 14 years experience in public education system. Okay, excellent. I think that's, unless you are going for a director of special ed services or your assistant principal focus, like at a school, is just around special ed, then I'd keep all that reference to special ed. But if you're not, does that make sense?
Right.
If you're not, then so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put a line through it.
Okay.
All right. I've been a teacher in charge on many occasions for different schools and your different principals. Okay. So a variety of schools. Okay. Now we're getting to something. This is nice to know, Marisela, but it's not important to know what you have. Okay. Then take a look at that last sentence, 2 sentences. I'm great. Establishing positive. So what we want to keep is this thing about establishing positive relationship with staff, leaders, and community. So we want to keep that. I'm going to highlight that.
Okay.
And I'm very dedicated to my job. So you're dedicated. We're going to keep that word and strive to be better. Okay. Something around that. All right. So now we have these nuggets that we can work with. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of this opening paragraph is like a professional profile that really is to shine a spotlight on you as a leader, like what's important to you and what are your strong skill sets as a leader, right? And then everything else in the resume is going to support what it is you wrote in your blue box. It's like the blue box is your thesis paragraph, if you will. Right? And everything else are all your supporting details to it.
Right. Okay.
Does that help in your thinking? Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, yeah, I follow Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek wrote the book, Know Your Why, and he's famous for his TED Talk called The Golden Circle, which is, I don't know, have you seen his video?
I have not.
The Simon Sinek video. It is totally worth watching.
Okay.
Absolutely worth watching.
How do you spell it?
S-I-N-E-K. Sinek.
Okay.
Simon Sinek. And if you just go to YouTube and type in his name, you will find a talk that's called something. I believe the name of the talk is How Great Leaders Inspire. So I know the word leader is in the title, and I know inspire is in the title. And it's not very well filmed, right? And so he's holding a microphone at the beginning of it, and he always uses a flip chart stand. So you'll see it when you recognize it. And then he'll talk about this thing called a golden circle, and he'll draw these 3 circles on the flip chart, and he'll label the middle one why. The outside one is how, and then the one outside of that is what. Okay. Now he goes into how marketing people market and how salespeople sell and how leaders lead and the reason why the way we currently do it doesn't get the impact we're looking for. And his whole point is that oftentimes we try to sell people on an idea by telling them what the idea is, the outside of the circle, how we're going to accomplish, and then we might get around to why it's so important. And what he suggests is you start with the why.
Mm.
You start with what's most important to you. What do you believe? And for him and his company, he believes that it's possible for people to go to work every single day, to find joy and satisfaction, and return at the end of the day fulfilled. That's nearly a quote from him. Okay, so that's what he believes in. So his whole organization is around how can we help people do that. So why? So you start with your why, and then you can explain how you might go about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then is the what. And he uses the example, without giving you the entire talk, but he uses the example of Apple. How Apple, when they sell, says, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe that in human potential, or whatever, like human creativity.
Mm-hmm.
We design products that are beautifully made and easy to use. We happen to make computers. Want to buy one?
Mm.
Different than somebody saying, you know, I got this really great computer, and it's really fast, and it's got all this really great features, and it's, you know, it's got a touch screen, it's got all that stuff. You want to buy a computer?
Mm-hmm.
It just lacks the punch, right? Okay,
Right.
so that was a 1-minute summary of Simon Sinek's talk, but it's totally worth seeing. So what he suggested in a video I saw from him was, when you create your resume, that top paragraph needs to be your why.
Got it.
Got it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you believe in? What do you stand for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I'm going to pull up. Do you mind if I pull up one of your colleagues' resumes?
No, yes.
Okay, let me just.
Yeah, okay.
And just because I think there was somebody who just, I think it was Ebony's. Let's take a look. All right, can you see Ebony's?
Not yet.
Okay, probably not. All right. Okay, here it is. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy it. I don't have her permission, but I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put it in a comment box.
Okay.
On your, let's see, review, new comment. I'm going to throw it. Okay. All right. Are you able to see that comment box that just showed up there? Okay. So here's what she wrote. Top paragraph. Devoted and student-focused future administrator. I asked her to take out the word future. I think emerging is a stronger word. Something like that. Devoted, or you just take out the word administrator because you're not one yet. And she could put in professional or educator or professional educator, right? So anyway, notice the words that she uses to describe herself as a leader. Devoted, student-focused, dedicated to providing an inclusive, right? Special ed teacher, that makes sense for you. An inclusive and engaging learning experience for students. I would put the word all students in that particular sentence. Committed and enthusiastic about collaborating with all members of the school community to contribute to the success of all students. There she said all students. So notice the words she used, Marisela, right? Devoted, student-focused. So
it's
what?
Almost like the mission statement or a vision. It's almost like you're including that as far as your main intro piece.
Yes. And it's your personal vision. I mean, it's your vision for the school, right, and for children, right, and for staff. But it's so a little activity you might want to do, Marisela, is create a quick list for yourself of how would you describe yourself as a leader. You know, and you have some of the words, right? If you look in the blue box, we've got you establish positive relationships, which means you believe in relationships, you believe collaboration, right? You believe in, I'm guessing here, and you're dedicated. You strive to be a better person. So think about your own personal and professional qualities, right? Make a little list of those, and then mess with some sentences.
Got it.
Right. And notice that she really doesn't have completed, she doesn't really have English appropriate, like grammar appropriate sentences. Devoted and student focused future administrator dedicated to providing inclusive, engaging learning experience for students, period. It's lacking a subject, but it's understood that I am. So it truncates it, right? I often talk about economy of language, right? We're using the least amount of words to create the biggest impact. Mm-hmm. So she's really truncated, and she's just getting right to the point.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna just make that a little italicized so it looks like. Okay. Great. Now let's take a look. I like the layout. It's fresh. I like the failure success if we learn from it. Kind of like I've never seen a quote at the top of a resume before. I think that's novel.
Thank you.
Objective, elementary school vice principal. I like it. That's cool. So this part right here about the objective elementary school vice principal, it looks like the heading for this section of your resume. So when I first read it, I lost it. I didn't really see it as the objective. I saw it as a subject header kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So you might consider, and you might center it, make it smaller,
Yeah.
And I've seen some resumes where they actually describe the kind of place that they want to work in. It's really fascinating. Like they've written things like, I'll just type it in here. What is something they've written? This is kind of a sappy way to start it. But anyway, seeking a leadership position on a team that values collaboration, innovation, to do what's best for students.
Okay, so it's like a description, yeah.
Yeah, and you see where now it's like, okay, but if it says elementary school vice principal, right? Yeah, and so you'll only apply for elementary school vice principals, but you might find a situation where it's in a school district that has a junior high still, or a middle school that's 6, 7, 8, or just a school that has a 6, 7, right? And they may not call it an elementary school. So anyway, there's a way of, and I wouldn't even, I'd probably just get rid of the word objective. Yeah. So again, you're describing, you're still telling the reader, this is who I am and this is what I value. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And these words might show up like collaboration, innovation, do what's best for students. Mm-hmm. Those might show up in your blue paragraph above, may not, but they might be, and it's okay to repeat those.
Okay.
Okay? All right, now let's go after professional experience. All right, here's what we're going to do. So you have all the right stuff, Marisela, so that's good. You have all the right content. We're just going to frame it, right? We're going to move it and frame it in a way that highlights you as a leader. And I know you may not have had a huge amount of leadership experience, but we want, when people go flip through this resume, because there could be 250 resumes that they're looking at least applications, and they may narrow that down to 50, of which they'll actually spend the time reading the resumes, or 20 of them. And even if it's a stack of 20 and they're all 3-page resumes, that's 60 pages of information I have to take in as a reader. And I want to be able, my first glance, because I'm going to be screening, the first glance I'm going to go through is I'm going to read that opening paragraph and the objective, and I'm going to say, is this a person I want on my team or not? Right? So if it passes that checklist, then I'm going to scan the rest of it, and I'm looking for the functions, right? The functions of leadership that you've held, right? And then some little description about what that is, because I still want to get to know who Marisela is as a leader, regardless of little or a lot of experience that you might have. So let's lead here. I'm going to put that in like that. Let's lead with a role. So you were teacher in charge. Was that the title?
Yeah, that's what they
call
it
here. All right. So yeah. So what if we what if we led with that? I know it's not the right setting here. Let me just go to normal for a moment. What if we led with teacher in charge?
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And of course that would be, you know, obviously bigger than that. So I don't know where, I'm just digging around here with this. All right, that's too big. Okay, teacher in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can put, I'm going to do some just crazy reformatting here for you. And because what's most important for me looking for somebody on my team, I'm looking for what you've done, who you are, and what you've done. And so I can ask you questions about how you did it.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say that again, right? I'm looking for who you are and then what you've done so I can talk to you about how you did what you did. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? So where you did it is not as important to me as who you are, what you did. Does that make sense? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In regular resumes, right, which are kind of more historical or chronological, right, it's here's the place, here's the thing, here are the dates, and here's my job description.
Right.
Right? That's a typical resume. But we're gonna mess that up a bit here.
Okay.
All right. So it could be something like that. And all of this, how did you do that? Is this a text box? Oh, I see what you did. Okay. So I like all the white space on your resume. You know what I mean by white space?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to work on some formatting here too. But I also, we want it easy for the eye to move through the page.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we want to keep it, so it was just over too far on the page. Those bullets were over too far. So my eye had to just move. We just want to make it as easy as possible. I know it sounds really crazy, but.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Don't think we need the phone number because you're going to add phone numbers in the reference section.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So this was your role in grades K-5 and duties. Okay. Now we're thinking as a leader, and we're thinking as I'm presenting, right? You're presenting yourself as a leader to other leaders. Mm-hmm. So words like responsibilities, duties, those kinds of words are found in job descriptions. Mm-hmm. But they lack punch, right? They just don't give me a clear enough picture yet. So we're going to get rid of that. All right. Are you okay with what we're doing here, or do you understand what we're doing?
Yeah, I'm trying to processing everything. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Now, here are the bullets that we're going to be working with right here. So I'll just go ahead and bullet those. And the first thing, there are 3 parts, right, of a solid bullet statement in a leadership resume. And do you happen to know what those are? And that's okay if you don't.
I'm not sure I do.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so first it has to have an action verb. It has to start with an action verb. And the kind of action verbs we're looking for here are leadership action verbs, right? Mm-hmm. The second thing that it has to have is it has to have what I just simply call the what. What did you do? Mm-hmm. Okay. The third thing is it's going to be tied to a result, outcome. Okay. And that's the thing, Marisela, that sets your leadership apart from everybody else's. Because everybody else has got a resume like yours, which kind of basically is a job description. Mm-hmm. But what we want to remember, the purpose of this leadership resume is to communicate to the reader, this is who I am, this is what I've done, this is what I stand for. Right? Okay. So in every possible place in this resume, we want to communicate to this person, this is the reason why I do what I do. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's take a look at that first bullet and see what we can do to follow those three parts. So we ran The Learning Center, which included providing interventions for struggling students in grades kindergarten through 5. All right, great. So let's take a look at the action verb. Ran. What's a stronger verb that is more descriptive?
Well, actually, on the one that I pulled up while I was waiting for you, I had changed that word and I put what I was in charge of the Learning Center. But
Okay, so it is. That's okay. That's much better than ran. Okay, so you were in charge. All right, in charge leaves me wondering, what does that mean? So did you manage? Did you supervise?
Yes, I had 3 Learning Center aides and I supervised them. I created schedules for them. Right now, I would think of different verbs to put in the resume, but I gave them ideas on what interventions might work, and constantly was checking in with them to see what was working, what wasn't, and the interactions with the teacher and the students and the curriculum. So obviously, I would have to just sit and think about how I want to word all of that.
Yes, I'm thinking for a moment. Organize activities and collaborate with colleagues to determine is not really the right word, but I'm just going to use it for right now. To determine. Interventions. I'm trying to use your words here as well. Interventions.
So interventions and support.
Yeah. Okay. So look what we did with this one. All right. So you've got supervised, organized, and collaborated. Now we could break those up into 3 different ones if what you did on the supervising part was really important, and we can highlight what about supervision was so important about that. We could take out organizing and put it as a different bullet if, again, organizing it was a big deal and you want to really highlight that, and we could take out collaborated, right? So right now we're working on it, right? It's like a rough draft. So I'm just throwing ideas on the paper. Supervise, organize activities, and collaborate with colleagues. So look what we got. We have your action verb. We've got determining. Well, that's kind of a verb too. But here's the what. Best interventions and support. Right? That's the what.
Right.
Now, it could also be the result. It could also be the result, but just for the sake of the exercise of writing this kind of a bullet, let's go ahead and add the part about the result or the outcome. Why did you and your colleagues do this work? Yes, it was to determine best interventions and support. For what reason?
To increase the student success. Specifically in reading, but we also address math.
Yeah. So if you were, again, if you're wanting to highlight that you have some sort of expertise, you have a lot of experience in ELA, or reading in particular, then you can put that in there.
Got it.
Right? Okay. All right. So I highlighted, let me see, this is the original. Ran. Okay, I'm going to put it in italics. Actually, I'm going to strike through it. So the one you did was ran the Learning Center, which included providing interventions for struggling students in grades kindergarten through 5th. And look what we did to it.
Right.
Right? Okay. It's got all 3 parts in it. Yeah, and so what we're after, again, I'll use this phrase again, which is economy of language. We're wanting to use the least amount of words to create the greatest visual image for somebody.
Okay.
Right? The least amount of words. And this is going to be true also, Marisela, in your leadership platform paper. as you're working on that, that's going to be my biggest comment to the students will be say less, describe it better, right? Just it doesn't have to. I don't want a narrative, right? It's not a story, right? So okay. Supervise organized activities and collaborate with colleagues to determine the best intervention and support to increase student success. Awesome. I read this, and this is the question I'm going to ask you, Marisela. So, Marisela,
yes,
there's 2 questions I'm going to ask you on this, based on just this bullet.
okay.
You say you supervised, organized, and collaborated. Which of those 3 do you enjoy the most and you think you're the best at?
Wow.
That's going to be one question I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
All right. And the second question I'm going to ask you is, so how did you and your colleagues, how did you determine what was best for students?
Okay. So I would say that, do you want me to answer it?
You don't have to answer that right now.
Oh,
and yeah. So the purpose of the bullet is to give me enough information so I ask you the how question, right?
Okay.
Because remember, I'm looking for who are you, what do you stand for, and what did you do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
ask me, where would you want me to answer them, or are you just having me brainstorm?
Correct. This is just you for your reflection and in your preparation for an interview. Because remember, you're giving them, this is the cheat sheet on you, right? And in essence, Marisela, you're almost, how shall I say this? You are manipulating the focus of the conversation. Now, manipulate is a kind of an interesting word, but if you take it back to its Latin roots, it means to move or to form with your hands, to manipulate. So what you're doing in this piece of paper is you're handing them the agenda. You're handing them the conversation frame.
Right. Okay.
Right. And so you get to direct where the types of questions, or at least you could not direct them, but at least you could nudge the conversation toward things you want to talk about.
Right.
Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me see. Supervise. Okay. Notice that we took out kindergarten through 5th grade, because up here, you say that you were a RSP teacher for grades K-5.
Right.
Right. So it's just, we're eliminating redundancy when we do that. Okay. All right. So Marisela, we've just gone over the 3 parts of a really powerful bullet, and we've gone over the 3 bigger ideas of this resume is to communicate who are you, what do you stand for, and what did you do? So then I can ask you the how questions, right? Because by asking you how questions, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, and we're going to talk on Tuesday night with Dr. Carol Van Buren about interviews and interviewing. I don't even know what I was going to say about that. Okay, forget that. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So when you wrote teacher in charge at the top as a headline, and then we bulleting all of these different, I guess I would call attributes.
Yeah.
Would it imply that I was essentially a teacher in charge in the years that I was there, and that was my role, and that's what I did as a teacher in charge? Would it lead people to get the wrong idea of what my actual role was at that school? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. That's a great question.
Role. It was more like I was usually assigned to be the teacher in charge when the admin was out.
Yes.
So it's not like that was my role. So I don't know if I'm wrong in thinking that I'm misleading somebody as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's prudent of you to think like that, because we don't want to mislead people. At the same time, we want to highlight in what ways have we done leadership.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And if they
Right.
have questions like that by, oh, teacher in charge. So were you like a teacher on special assignment, or were you a classroom teacher and then you had these additional responsibilities? And
Right.
then you can explain it to them.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So
Is
can I
this
elaborate on that?
please?
So to address both what you're saying and my concern of misleading somebody and them thinking that maybe I'm not the most honest individual, and again, I guess as I just think about, I haven't been on the other side of leaders trying to hire a new leader, but if we put teacher in charge right next to professional experience, so it would highlight that I have teacher in charge experience, but yet the RSP teacher is the headline to my duties. What would you think about that? Does that make sense? If we have a professional experience and then there's a colon, we put teacher in charge next to that colon. So
Yes.
it highlights that I have teacher in charge experience, but yet when we go down to the bulletin, it's right under the RSP teacher, not necessarily highlighting the teacher in charge. But I don't know if that would be a good idea, or if we should keep it the way it was.
Um, wow, that's really thoughtful of you, Marisela. I'm not. I
It's
don't think I have a preference either way at the moment.
okay.
Uh,
So it shows, and it's in bold, that I have professional experience of being teacher in charge, yet the
yeah.
bulleted items are under the actual headline of RSP teacher.
Yes, I see that. All right. Well, let's work with that. Okay. And most important, Marcel, you need to feel comfortable and confident about the resume,
Yeah.
right? And
Okay.
if you think that is a better representation of you,
Mm-hmm.
then by all means do that, because then you're going to have a sense of confidence, right? When you walk into the resume, and you won't have that little voice in the back of your head asking yourself, oh man, am I misleading? Or I hope they don't ask about that, or,
Yeah.
because you don't want any of that kind of wishy-washiness when you walk in.
Okay.
All right,
Because
let's
honestly, it
go ahead.
haven't been many opportunities that was teacher in charge. I think I would have had more opportunities, but then there was controversy that I was asked to be teacher in charge as a newbie. I was like the new kid on the block, and there was just a
Okay.
lot of people upset. And then it just kind of, I was no longer the designated teacher in charge, but they'd come to me saying, "Hey, I'm going to be out. So, if anything happened." So I was like the unsaid teacher in charge after there was controversy about me being the
Mm,
designated.
mm,
That makes sense.
mm. Yes.
So I essentially was a person they'd go to all the time, but I was never the official teacher in charge after that incident because there was
Yeah.
other people. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Then let's fairly represent this. Now let's practice. Okay. So
Okay.
I just taught you, if you will, some direct instruction about here are the three parts to a great bullet statement. I've modeled it for you, right? We worked on it together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put it in your hands right now, and let's take a look at this next bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And how about if you work, right? Let's work together, but you take the lead on it this time. The bullet is assisted in leading the Learning Center team in a variety of intervention programs and models, address the needs of students in special education.
The address was another bullet. I think it.
Okay. All right. Yep, I agree with you. I think you're right. Okay.
So you want me to stick with just the first one or doing both?
Hmm. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's do that first one, the one that says assisted.
Okay. It's almost repetitive to the first one, essentially, because.
Right. So, okay, very nice. I absolutely agree with you on that. Then is there a phrase or phrases or words in this bullet statement that you want to add to the supervised bullet statement, or revise that first bullet statement so it includes some languaging that you like better in the second bullet statement? All right,
Right.
let's take a look at that. What do you think?
I actually would. I I would want to say eliminate assisted and leading the learning center team, because that seems like it's less important than saying supervise, organize, and the activity. So,
Okay. So we'll cross that out because we don't want to use that. All right.
mhm.
Oops. Do we want to do something here with the rest of this right here? In a variety of intervention programs and models. Is there any of that we want to put in the first bullet?
I'm trying to see if there's a way I can mesh them, but I really like the way the first one sounds, and I'm trying to see if adding that might not. I would not be using economy of language, I think, if I add a little too much.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
feel like
Yeah.
it's saying the same thing, and I kind of like the wording on the first one better. So I think I would eliminate it, and that would give them less to have to read through if it's not highlighting anything different about me necessarily.
Yes. Yes. And that's the kind of thinking that you just articulated that you'll want to apply as you work these bullets. It's better to have 3 bullets that hit it on the mark
Mm-hmm.
than 7 bullets that are just, it's just like a laundry list, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
excellent choice, Marisela.
so less is more, but then I go into when I was looking at the rubric of what was expected of us, it said 2 to 3 pages. So essentially it's going to go down to 1 or 2 pages if I'm condensing what it is about me that highlights me, especially if I'm being more careful with how I say things and bulleting exactly. And if I don't have an extensive list of leadership background, then it might, and that's my focus, not necessarily my teaching experience, but my leadership. And if I don't have a long laundry list of it, then it will essentially shorten my resume. And is that a problem for your grading?
Oh
Okay.
no, no, not at all. Because I'm looking for quality, right? That's what you want. You want a quality resume that stands out, an outstanding resume. And the number of pages is only is used only to support your ability to communicate the message. So usually what happens is that there's 2 pages of professional experience, teaching experience, special certifications, education, etc. And then the last page, the 3rd page, is usually the reference page.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've had many really solid resumes that are 2 pages.
Okay.
And it gets right to the point. So, yeah.
And I would say like the most recent one we're working on is where I would have the most leadership experience, because the jobs previous to this, obviously, my very first job, I just became a teacher. So there wouldn't be as many leadership roles or duties that I had. So if I'm trying to just gear it towards leadership, it would be very short, right?
You'll still want to add your teaching experience though. And the reason why that's important, the reason why, Marisela, it's so important is because to be a strong administrator, as strong instructional leader, you need to have some experience in the classroom. And when we get to that part in your resume, we'll want to look at highlighting words and things like Common Core, problem-based learning, higher order thinking skills, ELA, equity, literacy, right? Because in those bullets, then looking at your resume, I'm going, wow, I want this leader on my team, and they do need to have some working, although they need to have some working understanding and knowledge of what's going on in the classroom with curriculum and instruction. Okay? All right, how are we doing so far?
Yeah, no, there's just a lot that's, I'm just processing everything, and I'm thinking about how I can now start to change a lot of what I'm going to say, and how other things that I've done in my teaching career would help my resume that I probably left out now that you mentioned these things. And so, yeah, I'm just processing everything.
Okay. All right. All right. Address the needs of students in special education. Sounds like it's covered in the first bullet. Especially if they're, I don't know, because you're an RSP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Teacher, that title is used with teachers who work with special ed teachers or kids, right? Right. Mm-hmm. So, all right. I'm going to get rid of that. Wrote and implemented IEPs. Okay. That's critical information. It's one thing to show up and listen in an IEP meeting, right? And just maybe give some advice or whatever. It's a whole different game to write and to evaluate, analyze, and implement an IEP.
Right.
So we want to keep this, Marisela. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to word it yet, but we definitely want to keep this one right here. So I'll highlight that one. Assisted with students with behavior challenges.
You highlighted the wrong one, though.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. All right. We're going to get rid of that. And I'm thinking we'll probably strike this one.
Right.
Assign teacher in charge when needed, right?
Right.
This one, though, assisted students with behavior challenges.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there's something there.
They call on me often for that stuff.
It's what?
They call on me often to assist with those.
All right. So that must mean that you've got a mental model in your head. You've got a construct. You've got a way of working with children that works. And it works so well that your colleagues know it and they seek you out about it. Mm-hmm. All right. That's fabulous, Marisela, that you have that skill set, especially as a leader. Because right? Yes. So we'll want to do something. We're going to work this one on assisted with students with behavior challenges. We're going to want to beef that one up. Okay. Have it follow the 3 steps for the bullet. And then part of the school site council committee. School site council committee is also an important thing to keep. Part of.
A member of.
Keep going. You're closer.
Oh. An active participant.
Keep going.
An active not an active participant in. Hang on, let me think of what I'm trying to say here.
Marisela, think in terms of what did you do when you were on the school site council committee? In what ways did you show up? If I was to videotape you in a school site council meeting, what would be the actions and the behaviors that Marisela is doing in that meeting?
I helped facilitate the meeting. I was the secretary taking notes in the meeting, and I contributed with ideas on how to better the school for the hang on, there's something on my mind too. Trying to think of how I want to word this. Capture notes. Oh, I like that. Okay. Co-facilitated. Capture. Can you just write my resume for me? Because I love it. Keep on going. We're doing great. I have all the time in the world. I love it. You know what? I'll just tell you when I'm going for my interview, and you just wear the headset and speak into my ear. I love it.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do. Well, Marisela, it's a big switch. It's a big switch to be from the teacher mindset and the domain that you have, right? Your little queendom that you work in. And then all of a sudden, when we step out of that and we step into this leadership role, it's all of this that you've done, but it's in the context of something much bigger.
Yeah, except the vocabulary is amazing, and mine's not solid. like yours is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I come from a single family, so that doesn't help because I know that vocabulary is something that I've always struggled with, and it's just a little bit different having the second language.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love to learn new things and how to beef something up like you're doing in my
Yeah.
resume. So
Good.
thank you for
No, you're welcome. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. You have all that great stuff to work with, Marisela. So now we're just having to polish it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So co-facilitated captured notes, and then you were talking about something else that you did. I don't know if it was analyzing data or making decisions or something. I can't remember what you said.
Well, we did. So I'm trying to like take me back to that setting, and it's exactly what you said. And I was just trying to think back. Of course, we did analyze data, and we discussed funding and how to allocate funds to better the school. And we involved the school community. We encouraged community participation. To contribute to I'm trying to think.
That's all right. Take your time.
Because I know what I want to say, but it's obviously not beefing or polishing it, the resume. It means pretty matter of fact of just
say it.
To encourage community partnerships to contribute to basically the success of the students at the school, to contribute to bettering the school for all stakeholders. Okay.
Okay, I'm just messing with language. Okay, you don't have to link it. It's perfectly okay to say to me, Mark, I don't like that word. Okay, perfectly okay. I'm just making stuff up as we go here.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how when I speak, you are those gears that just kind of flip the switch and just say, okay, we're going to call it that. I love it. That's exactly what I said.
Right? Yeah. I've had editors of some of the works I've published. I've had editors do exactly the same thing. Just like you. I'm just talking out loud, or I send them a manuscript or whatever, and then they come back and have the paragraph rewritten, and I look at it and went, "Oh man, that's exactly what I meant to say." Right?
Yeah. Even better.
All right, so here's what we got so far, right? We've got co-facilitated, captured notes, analyzed data, formulated budgets, and encouraged community partnerships to advance the school's mission.
I love it. It sounds wonderful.
Okay, so let me see, but we don't have, we lost the school site council committee. So
co-facilitated the school site council committee.
Yes, let's do that. Okay. Co-facilitated school site council committee, captured notes, analyzed data. So what we could, yeah, that's nice. Captured notes, analyzed data, formulated, and encourage community partnerships to advance the school's mission. Oh, dang.
You're good. You're good.
No, that's not why I said that. It's just I was thinking, wow, if I read that on a resume, I would look at you. I would look at you, Marisela, and say, well, Marisela, wow, sounds like you were really involved with that. Can you talk to me for a minute about the importance that you think the school site council committee has on success of students?
And I'd say, hang on, let me calm Dr. I'll get right back to you.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, and what you'll notice in when I'm modeling for you is the way leaders look at their work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not just that, we don't look at budgets. We analyze budgets. We formulate budgets. We scrutinize
Right.
monetary allocations, right? That's the language of leaders and business and organizations. And as you get in that role more, uh, and even when you start reading more leadership books, you just start kind of picking up the language of what people of
Yeah.
how they talk about their own work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these other ones that we've got highlighted. How about when we're off the call and later, whenever you want to work on it, uh, you can you can work those. Okay, uh, the one about wrote and implemented IEPs and assist students with behavior changes.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
think, yeah, I think you'll be able to really uh, work those too. Now that you've got these couple models, right, and this
Yeah.
frame to work with.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to skip down just because of some time, and that is I'm going to skip down to maybe more about teacher. Okay, let's go to, okay, this is more teacher in charge stuff right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This part right here. All right, so a couple of things we can do here, Marisela. We can tuck Manteca Unified School District, Lincoln Elementary School. We could put that up here. I'm going to throw it up there for right now.
Oh, okay.
You see, because it's under this larger umbrella of this teacher in charge responsibilities that you have.
And they're very similar. It's going to be a little repetitive.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
notice that I took out the dates
Right.
because I can ask you about the dates, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or at the end of this right here, I can't remember the first set of dates that you had on your resume, but you could do 2008 to present, right?
Right.
Where 2008 to present, and then capture all of this other stuff you did. This
Mm.
was a different school. It was a K-8.
Well,
So
that
it
was
could be,
the Manteca one, 2008 to 2015, and then I've been in Salida from 2015 to 2000.
okay.
But yeah, I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So this could look like this, like
Mm.
K5, and then after the elementary school, you could put K6 or K whatever you said, 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So just going to clean this up a little bit. That could be bulleted. Bold. I might do that. Just because, right?
Okay.
Because you can lead the eye where you want the eye to go, right? So then that means we're just going to take this stuff out right here.
Right.
And you were teacher in charge. Okay, we got that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You create schedules to provide intervention for students with special needs. Okay. Schedules might be up here, organized.
No, I didn't write. I didn't address that up there.
Yeah, right. If you needed to, you address the needs of students in special education. Okay, we've got that a bit. You were assigned when you were needed. Okay, that's good news. You wrote and implemented IEPs. You're going to fix that one up above.
Mm-hmm.
You were a business support provider?
I was in Manteca, yes.
Okay, rock star. Here's
Mhm.
here's what we're going to do. We're going to call this one, we're going to call it out and make it its own thing, its own function.
Okay, it's on. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna mess this up just a little bit, and I'm gonna put that there, and I'm gonna put it's a support provider, right? And we
Right.
already know that it's for beginning teachers, so we don't even have to put that now, because that's a whole. Not only did you just highlight how you were showing leadership with your colleagues as an RSP teacher,
Mm-hmm.
now you're introducing me as the reader of your resume to this whole other world of skill sets that you have. Because to become a BITSA support provider, you got to know about instruction. You got to know about school, classroom climate. You got to know about student engagement. You got to know about coaching skills,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
That I will choose, just me speaking, I will choose a BITSA support provider over somebody who was not a business support provider because of the skill set that that brings to the leadership position.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
I'm glad you did highlight it in that way, because so I was at Manteca, I came to Salida, and then now next year I go back to Manteca to the same exact school that I came from. But in the future, I am hoping that the stars align, and I'm actually gonna apply for the BITSA coordinator position that will be opening up soon. So if we highlight that, that'll actually be perfect to present that for that job opportunity.
Yes. All right. In this, exactly right. Let's take a look. I'm going to put a comment in here about the business support provider. And here, you're going to do what we talked about earlier in the conversation, which was you're going to list the what's. Right? Whatever, like, okay, I coached, I organized, whatever all those what's are. So you're going to list the what's. You're going to list the actions that you took.
Okay.
Coached, encouraged. I was going to say the word cajole, but I was just trying to be funny. Because some young teachers often cry, or they get frustrated, or they need, right. So here are things that you did, right? You coached, you collaborated, you mentored, because sometimes coaching and mentoring is different. Okay. That's another thing that you did. You encouraged, I don't know if I said encouraged yet, inspired, motivated. Yeah. The reason why I didn't use motivated, just so you know, Marisela, is because my belief about people is that I cannot motivate you. I can inspire you. I can mentor you. I can guide you. I can't, right? But you motivated, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because people use words like that, they say, I motivated people. No, you empowered them. You encouraged them.
They were motivated by my actions, by me, but they motivated them. I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
I like that. Okay.
Okay, so you're going to list the what, you're going to list the actions, and remember, you're going to attach, I'll just say attach the purpose, right? The why, the reason, the outcome. Why did you do this? Well, it was to, to help teachers establish equity in their classroom. So when you talk about classroom management, for example, classroom management is really about creating equity and accessibility to the curriculum. If you really think about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. It's really not about controlling student behavior, because if that's the game we're playing in education, we're completely missing the ball. Right? Because you and I both know that a great lesson plan is the best classroom management strategy you could ever have.
Right.
Because when students
can actually teach. Right.
Exactly. So the only reason why we teach classroom management skills is so that we can establish this strong foundation where everybody's clear about how we're going to live with each other. That's the only reason. So we keep a safe place. But really, the ultimate goal of having clear expectations in the classroom is so that kids have equal access, that everybody's voices can be heard. Anyway, I could go on for a really long time on classroom management.
You could write a book.
All right, so we're going to do, right? So you're going to spend some time on this bits of support provider thing, and let's highlight it. And it could just be 2 or 3 bullets, but every single one of those bullets is going to nail all 3 of those parts of an effective bullet statement, right? Okay. All right. And then we could do this part right here because it's still part of your professional experience. This would be a little section. Let me see here.
That's when I first became a teacher.
Oh, okay. So additional teaching experience, right? And then you get to talk about you were an SDC teacher. See, I don't want to know the place. I want to know what your function was first, right? I'm not spelling things very well today. Additional. Okay. And this is going to be bold and big, right? Like the other thing. Okay. Grades K1. Okay. So we could keep that same kind of
format.
The same kind of formatting idea, and get rid of the duties thing.
Right.
Yeah. Put this thing over where it belongs.
To the left.
Yeah. We'll just kick it over here someplace. All right. Taught the kindergarten. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Obviously, I'm sorry, not to be demeaning, but obviously you taught because this is teaching experience. So again, Marisela, we're going to look at it from the standpoint of what you were doing. See, because working with students, the skill set to work with students, although the strategies are different, the skill sets are the same in working with anybody. Right? You're guiding, you're coaching, you're enticing, you're like all those kind of things, the same kind of things we do with adults. So we want them to take a look at your teaching experience as, what did you do? You could, you come up with all sorts of things. As a kindergarten teacher, when you think, again, let's take a look at the video, right? We're looking at a video of Marisela with kindergartners and first grade curriculum. And what are we watching? What's playing out before us?
I implemented the curriculum and I differentiated instruction.
And okay, so let's tear it apart, right? So we've got implemented and differentiated. All right. So what part of the three parts of a great bullet statement does that handle?
What?
Yeah, it's the
action.
Right. It's the action verb, right? So we got action. Now, following the action verb is the what? Standards-based curriculum and instruction. Or this could be differentiated strategies.
I guess the action and the what kind of go hand in hand, but they kind of don't. So that's where I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. When you're explaining, I'm like, well, what did I do? Well, I implemented because it's a verb, but
I see.
What? Does that make sense? So I was trying to figure out what you're saying, but no, implemented is a verb, and what did I verb? It was instruction.
Thank you.
That makes sense. Okay.
Nice distinction. Very nice distinction. Now, so what's missing? What do we need to include now?
Well, we discussed classroom management, and I don't know if that's part of it because.
Okay. Yeah, I think you said. Okay, so let's go back. What I'm referring to is this part right here. There are three parts to it, right?
Okay, the what? Yeah.
So we got the action verb, we've got the what, the noun.
And the result.
Now we got to have the result. For what reason, Marisela? To what purpose did you do this work as this teacher?
To increase student. Hang on, now I'm going to change it to, I was going to say increase, but then I want to say something to, like to help students reach the state standards, to help students learn standard expectations or, excuse me, not really.
All right, let's just take that. Notice what you did, Marisela. That's exactly what we do when we're working on this resume. Is you just start talking, you just type out what you're thinking, and then once you got it on the paper, then we can go look at it.
Right, polish it up. Right.
Yeah. So you've got implemented.
Rough draft and then the final draft.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so you implemented curriculum and differentiated strategy to help students reach state standards. Okay. First part of that's got really strong verbs in it. the latter part of this we need to work on a little bit more. There are better words we can use to express what you believe in, so, to help students. Okay, let's think of some other kind of verb that we could think of that's helping. Support, empower, equip. Yeah, it could be any of those. So I'm going to list them here. And you can choose different ones if you want to. Empower, equip, did I say support already? Okay. So those are other options of words that you could use.
Okay.
Instead of help. It could be the word assist. And you could say that word. And this is what I do. I'm sharing with you kind of my process too. We just throw it on the paper, and then I start taking a look at different parts, and then I just let my brain figure out what are all the different kinds of words, synonyms, that would be a better representation of what I was actually doing. To help or support, empower, equip, assist students. Okay. To reach. What's the message we want to say here? For example, what's your belief about students and the standards?
Exactly.
Do you understand the question?
No, I'm
okay.
trying.
That's fine. That's fine. So I'll say it differently. So we've got students and we've got the standards. So right now, what is your belief about students' abilities to do the state standards? Do you believe that everybody can do that? Do you believe that some of the students can do that? Do you believe that students reach the standards? Do they master the standards? Do they excel? So those are the kinds of things that I'm asking you to think about right here.
To assist students in, I had it, hang on.
Okay.
I was something along the lines, but it was completely left it. In moving towards learning.
You are so on it.
Competency.
Just ideas. That's all those are for you, Marisela. There is to be thinking. It's to be thinking about it, because here, when somebody reads this statement about you as a teacher, you want to highlight what you believe in about kids, about teaching, about curriculum, about equity, accessibility, equal accessibility, equal access, or whatever. So that's why I'm throwing out these other kinds of ways of looking at the work that you did. Right? So you're either assisting them to master or accomplish, you're helping them, not use the word help, but assisting, supporting them to gain competence with state standards. Because by using that kind of language, then what I think Marisela thinks is that she believes all of her students can do these state standards. Now, if you don't believe that, then you have to write it differently than that, right? But I'm going to guess, as a special ed teacher, that you do believe that they can.
I hope, yes.
Yeah, right. They can reach the state standards. It might need to be modifications.
Right.
Right? But the standard doesn't ever go away. You don't
Right.
ever change the standard, right? You might change the objective, you might change the success criteria
Mm-hmm.
for what the standard is. Standard's a standard. If it says you got to write a paragraph, special ed students need to write a paragraph,
Right.
right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
their paragraph might be 2 sentences, but we know that those 2 sentences they've got to have a noun, they have to have a subject and a verb
Mm-hmm.
and some sort of, predicate phrase or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Now,
Okay.
the quality of that and vocabulary choice of a special ed student might not be as strong as a regular education student, but the standard doesn't change,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Wrote and implemented IEPs. Okay. Those were good. All right. Whew. Yeah. I could just imagine that your brain might be kind of boiling at the moment.
Well, I can't wait to actually sit down and polish this because I'm getting everything you're saying, and I just think I need a little extra time to just think everything through a little better and use what tips you're giving me to just really make it stand out.
Good. Good. I agree with you. And so we're gonna wrap this up so you can get busy on doing that. I moved skills in front of education. Okay.
Mm.
When you look at the skills list, think of it in terms again as leadership. Okay. Yeah. So you're fluent in speaking, writing, and writing. You keep that one. You bet. That's a differentiator. As I'm looking for somebody. Okay. Okay. Maybe this. So notice what you've done here in the skills, Marisela. You've taken skills like technical skills and you've also added leadership skills
Mm-hmm.
or personal traits, right? Professional skills.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely organized, great at meeting timelines, self-motivated, personal relationships, responsible, hardworking, professional, self-directed, team player, flexible, problem solver, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I would suggest that you keep.
Okay.
This part that I've highlighted right here.
Okay.
So you're active. So in school activities during and after schools, great. Active in school committees, right? Perfect. Yeah. I would keep all of those. You might want to mess with languaging a little bit.
Okay.
These do not have to have all three parts of the bullet statement.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Because you're just talking about your good qualities that you have. Yeah. All right. So in this conversation, Marisela, what do you think has been most valuable for you?
Really just polishing what I'm saying, and I love what you said about like the circle, the how and the why, the how and the what, and just changing it around from what my original layout was, and just polishing my vocabulary, really just really thinking about better way to just economy of language, short and sweet, to the point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Solid takeaways. Very
Mm-hmm.
nice. Very nice. I'm so excited to see your next version. All right. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to rush it, right? It's actually not really due until you pull your digital portfolio together. Because we're going to want to put in your digital portfolio the best leadership resume you've created so far, right? So if we've got another week or something you want to spend working on this, the most important thing is you feel really good about this leadership resume that you're
Mm-hmm.
creating. Yeah, you are so on the right track. It's going to be a really nice resume when you're done with it.
Well, I greatly appreciate your input and your time in helping me with this. It's really going to help me just in the future as an emerging leader and how to present myself in an interview as well. I'm just taking it all in and how I can just polish what I'm doing in general and just change gears from a teacher to a leader really is what I think I need to start doing more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I haven't been a leader, it's going to take a little extra time and trying to guess at where their frame of mind is, but it's work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, nice work and great conversation. Thank you so much, Marisela.
Thank you. I greatly
I'll
appreciate
go
it.
ahead. You're welcome. Oh, yeah, you are welcome. I will send the link to this recording to you so that you can see it. And I'm just, actually, I'll ask you that question in an email rather than putting it. Well, actually, let me stop the recording. Okay. All right. Now I'll ask you the question. I think the things that we talked about, and especially your reflection about the comments I was giving, I think that would be valuable for other people to hear this conversation.
Okay.
And if you're okay with it, only if you're okay, all right? And this is no judgment on my part at all. If you go, no, let's just keep this private, I totally respect that. But if you look through it or whatever, you go, you know what? Yeah, I'm willing to have people, watch this recording and, gain something out of it. And the reason, Marisela, is because the main points that I brought out to you are actually, most of those are in the instructional video for the resumes, and they're in a lot of the comments that I gave people on their papers already, on their resumes already. It was how you responded to them that I think, and your grasping of how to think differently, right? Viewing yourself and what you've done differently. I think that's the real takeaway that I think people get. They'll go, oh yeah, you know what? I was thinking just like Marisela about that, and So anyway, you think about it, and if that's something that you're willing to do, you just email me and let me know.
Okay.
Okay. All righty. Marisela, nice work. I'm looking forward to your next one.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.